Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spilling and Spiraling, where we spill and spiral about all the things, literally everything. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world today, reality TV, and we've got some fun topics to explore. But before we dive in, Alicia, what's going on with your life this week?
My gosh, what isn't going on with my life this week? Like, let's be honest. It was Memorial Day weekend. So I did so many fun things. I unfortunately though, like didn't plan for sleep, which that was my bad.
Yeah, you
That
had
was my
a
bad.
crazy weekend. I don't know how you
Yeah.
did all that.
I don't know either. I think it was just like I knew I didn't have to go to work. So like your body's different on vacation, than like on your normal 9 to 5. But yeah, I went to see Demi Lovato in concert alone, which was terrifying. Not because of Demi, but just because of like going to a concert alone. But no, she was a great performer. I highly recommend the concert to anybody who wants to go. And then the next night, I went to Pitbull. I don't know what I was expecting from a Pitbull concert, but it gave everything. Like
Did you wear a ball?
everything. I did not, but I did wear a white shirt and black pants. So, like, I did kind of fit the vibe, but this man, he came out, like, in full, like, basically, like, I think it was like a suit. And then at one point, he was wearing leather. And, like,
Oof.
granted, he's from Miami. So, like, he understands, like, Texas humidity. But there was definitely moments where it was like there was a hype man who was hyping you up for like 2 minutes. Well, I'm pretty sure they put Pitbull in some sort of like cryo chamber or whatever to be able to get the clothes off of his body from all the sweat and everything.
Oh my God. I
Um,
can't even imagine having to pull that off.
I couldn't either, but he was great. One of my favorite parts of it was instead of after each song where you cheer, you go woo yay. No, everyone chants like a dog, like they're like ooh, ooh, ooh. And then Pitbull just does this thing where he's like just so proud. So highly recommend a Pitbull concert.
It's so fun.
He actually had so many songs that I forgot about. Like I definitely forgot about oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting.
She's like, "I forgot about it again."
Fireball.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I love that.
Fireball. So yeah, that was kind of my weekend. But I did also have a thought. I was at the car dealership, which I feel like that needs to be a featured spiral episode because like what is an oil change? Like
Mm.
legitimately,
I
I
I don't know, I didn't have one for 4 years straight.
so see, and just we need to know. We need to figure it out.
Car was fine.
Oh, yeah, see, like, I get alerted on my phone. I, like, have an app, and it, like, says, "Oh my gosh, you need to do something," and I tried to tell that to Tony the other day, and he's like, "You're kidding. You know what an oil change is," and I'm like, "No, I'm legitly serious."
I
He
think
goes,
they just
"You're
put,
so
like,
funny."
a new thing of oil in your car, but, like, where? Into what tube?
But, like,
And why?
why? And then they were like, "Here's all the other things that we recommend you do." It was, like, $800 worth of stuff,
No.
and I literally texted Tony, I was like, "What is this?" And they were trying to charge me, like, an ungodly amount of money to like change an air filter, which I don't know how to do that, but like shouldn't be that much money, I think.
No, that's a scam.
Yeah. So, but the funny part was when I was waiting, there was this like lady in the waiting room with me who was um a little older than I was, and she had her phone on like full blast, which
Oy.
I know, I was like, really, lady, what are you doing? But I can't hate the videos she was watching because it was all Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey coded. Like this woman, she was into it. She was like on the Jimmy Fallon show watching clips of Travis. And then then there was one of those like AI guys like, here's the 5 things you need to know about Taylor Swift. And then
I
she was
hate
like voice texting someone in her, I guess, family or whatever, and was like, "This is so funny. You need to watch this. Travis and Taylor are hilarious." And it's just we're like, I'm just trying to knit, and I'm like, okay, like I'm eavesdropping on your conversations, like because you're making it so well known.
that's really entertaining.
Yeah. So that was kind of my weekend, I think, all rolled into one. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
What about you?
Um Well, yeah, Memorial Day weekend was crazy. We were at little babies' birthday parties, which was
So fun.
fun in and of itself because one of my best friends, she has a baby. She just turned 3, so she's not really a baby. But she had it at this really fun adventure play park. And It was one of those things where, like, you don't really watch the kids. There was a separate room for the parents and whatever. You could go in, but I'm not gonna. Um, so then I'm like, we're just chilling, my husband and I. At the end, we're just hanging out, and my daughter, Serenity, she runs out. She's like, "We got in a fight." What? Because okay, my daughter is really spicy, like, really spicy, but only at home. If you take her out of the house, she's such an angel, like, all her teachers love her. I've never seen her be mean to a soul outside of being at home. Um, but she is, like, the biggest angel, so I was like, "What do you mean you got in a fight? Like, that's crazy."
Right.
And Justin, my son, comes out, he's like, "Yeah, we got in a fight and we won." And I'm like, "What are you"
At least
and
to give you the facts.
what's even funnier is, like, my son is he's also an angel, and he this is bad, like, I feel like people say their kid is perfect, but he's quiet. He's not gonna talk to anybody. He is really self-conscious, so he's not gonna do any of that. And so I was like, "You got in a fight and you won?" And he's like, "Yeah, these kids, they were hitting Serenity in the face with a ball, and I had to stand up for my sister." And I was like, "Oh."
I mean, as he should. He's the
Yeah.
older brother.
I was like, "Ooh, I can't condone the fighting, but, like, good for you." Like, what was I gonna do?
Yeah. You
No.
didn't see it.
No, and then I guess there was this other kid who was stealing there's, like, a zip line, and he was hogging the zip line, and Serenity went up to him and like, "Get off, you're hogging it!" And which she also would typically not do. And then I think Justin jumped in, and they started just kind of, like, taking the zip line for themselves and, like, not letting the kid who was hogging it have it, but then if other kids wanted to use it, they would give it to them, like, it's like Robin Hood status, Good Samaritan.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
they just didn't
Good
wanna
for
give it
them.
to the kid. So yeah, I was popping off, and, we just the kids went to summer camp this week, which was fun.
Yay.
Yeah.
How are they liking it?
It's good. They're going to camp by the lake, which they've never done before, and, day 1, I walked in my daughter's room to, like, get her up, and I had her clothes laid out. I couldn't find her clothes. I look over, she pulls off the sheets and goes, "I'm ready." And I guess she had, like, changed into her bathing suit in the middle of the night.
Okay. Okay.
She wanted to be ready.
You know, my niece did that when she was younger. She would like get so excited for the next day of school. And also she hated waking up for school. So she would like wear her dresses and because she was wearing like dresses to school and not like a cute summer, like it was kind of like
Like
a
a
kid's
gown.
ball gown. Yeah. So
Ball
she
gown.
would go to bed and I'd have to wake her up and she'd be like, okay. And she'd like flip over the cover and she was fully ready to go. Like all she would do was like brush her teeth and wash her face and she was good.
Well,
And honestly, I get it. Like
thing, I was like, "Girl, you put on a bathing suit to sleep in? That's crazy."
yeah, well, I used to sleep in a bra,
I
like,
did too.
up until, like, basically college. I thought it's easier, it's faster, it's quicker. It's not that, like,
It's
long
not
to put on a bra. Like,
I used
that's
to
what I was
say it was
thinking.
comfier to wear a bra to bed, and I feel like,
Same.
"Why?"
No, I said the same thing. I don't know, like, even now, sometimes I'll be like, "Ew, why am I still" like, after work, I'm like, "Why have I not gotten in my comfy clothes? Like, what is going on?" Yeah.
Me anytime I'm wearing jeans.
Yeah. Honestly, that's how I feel with wearing leggings now too.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. I'm like, I just want a giant, like, sweatpant, and, like, I wanna look like Adam Sandler,
Yeah. I
and
mean, I am right now, I'm wearing sweatpants.
oh, it's funny because 'cause I'm wearing leggings. No, I had to change because I was filming TikToks earlier, and I didn't wanna be seen wearing what I was wearing in the TikToks
Oh my god,
in our
I've done
podcast.
that.
Yeah, so I was like, "Gotta change."
It's called batch content.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I just need to be producing all these videos and all these things come to my mind and then it gets 6 likes. So it's so great. I'm like, I'm loving it.
I think we're pretty much famous now.
I mean, yeah, like where are the brand deals? Like, come on, I'm ready. Uh, I've literally only posted like 4 TikToks and like 3 of them were in the last like 2 days.
Love this new journey for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's but the one thing I hate about it is, like, now that I'm posting, it's, like, no longer pushing, like, popular content to my For You page. It's, like, pushing, like, how to build your business, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's cool and everything, but, like, I wanna see the funny videos. Like, I'm chronically online. I need to stay chronically online or else I feel like I'm missing out.
That's what my
So
Instagram does. I all I get is, like, how to build your digital marketing whatever, and I'm like, "That's cool," for, like, 1 or 2 posts.
I know. The For You page, I don't understand it, and yeah, whatever.
Should we dive into this week's news?
I guess we should. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay. Also, Tiffany and I were joking earlier. I printed out what I was gonna say, so I'm definitely showing my millennial here.
I was like, it's
Um,
giving boomer.
MapQuest.
Boomer printing their emails to read
Um,
them.
yeah, or they do that at the Real Housewives,
Yeah, they
things where
print
they're
their
like
receipts.
the receipts. We'll get into it because I have a comment on that. But okay, so the news. The first is obviously we know that self-driving cars have entered the group chat. They are here. Whether or not they're here to stay, I don't exactly know. So some things that I was like finding out about self-driving cars because I was curious is I didn't know that this was like a secret project, so to speak. Waymo was by
Yeah.
Google. I had absolutely no idea that Google was involved, and it's actually owned by the parent company of Google called Alphabet Inc., which again I had no idea existed. I didn't know that there was a company that was over Google in any way.
Yeah.
So love this podcast because it gives me a chance to like dive into all those things. But essentially, what happened was back in February, Waymo was starting to expand in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and I think Florida, somewhere in Florida. And up until a couple of weeks ago, they have now said that they're going to now pull service from a majority of the places that they're serving.
Mm,
And the reason was because they were running into some problems. So the Waymos themselves were like going into flooded water areas, which if you know anything about like driving in bad weather, if you see water that's starting to come over, like you should not drive through it, right?
mm,
And these Waymos were basically just like, F it, I'm going to go through it. And so because of that, they stopped a lot of the services. And then they're also, they've stopped service on freeways as well because
mm.
there was too much going on. Um, so that's kind of, I think, exciting for us because I don't really trust self-driving cars.
Have you ever been in
Um,
one?
no, it freaks being in a Tesla freaks me out when a person's driving it. I don't think I could trust myself in a what if I get stuck? I have, like, a claustrophobia fear. So, like, what if I'm stuck in this car, okay, and I can't figure out how to get out? So, no, I have
No, for
not.
sure. I've been in one when I was in Scottsdale. I rode the Waymo,
Okay.
and I got lost in the parking lot, first of all.
It did?
Yeah, we obviously put it in the directions and whatnot, and it was just driving in circles around the parking lot 3 different times. But then my Uber driver really sold me on it, which is probably not good, but I was Ubering my hotel and he's like, "Oh, the Waymos are safer than riding with a person. You should definitely take one. Like there's less margin for error in the Waymo." So I'm like, "Okay, sure." But then you hear of all these stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also kinda weird that your Uber driver was being like, "It's safer." Okay, you're the person that's driving me. Like, you're saying that
He was like,
what
"I
do you
shouldn't
say?
be saying this, but it is safer for you to drive the Waymo." I was like, "Really? Okay."
I I understand. Like, I know there's so much safety when you ride in an Uber or a Lyft or whatever, where, you know, if you're not careful, something bad could really happen. And I know a lot of people like joke on TikTok where they're like, play this sound when, you're in an Uber or whatever to make sure that you're safe. But I don't know. Maybe it's because there's so much change happening with like technology. And I think it's just moving at a pace that I don't know if we're ready for in the sense of like there's already things going wrong. And I know there's trial and error, but they were in a lot of different cities already and now they're starting to pull back. It's kind of like I really wish you would test these things before you actually launch them and have them go live and then now you're kind of backtracking. It hurts your brand, it hurts your image and it just creates like a self-doubt or not a self-doubt, but a disconnect between me and your product, right? Like, I don't wanna trust you now even more than I did not wanna trust you before.
Think that I heard Arizona was one of the test markets for Waymo because they were one of the few places without big natural disasters. So
Mhm.
they weren't gonna have earthquakes and then have to navigate through that. And I was kind of surprised when I heard they were coming to Texas because we do tend to have natural disasters.
Yeah.
So, and
And
not
we have
surprised
like,
they're taking it away.
yeah, well, and we have really crazy drivers, which
Yeah.
like I get scared about. When I was learning how to drive in Houston when I was 16, I was terrified. I went to get my license and permit. I went outside of like Houston city limits to go somewhere else to like, so I would have to like go in like a small town compared to like where I grew up. So I wouldn't have to drive in those conditions.
No, it's awful.
Um, and again, I get it's a computer. I understand that it probably does and knows more than I do, and you can train it and whatever. But I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. I will say I did see a Waymo though the other day when I was driving to your house
Mm,
on I think it's a freeway or a highway.
mm,
I was somewhere on my way to you and I saw one, and I had seen
weird.
that message about them already being like cutting back and pulling back. So maybe that was like the last one.
Interesting.
But yeah, because they're kind of easy to spot with the little thing on top of their
Yeah.
head. And by their head, I mean the roof of the car. Like, yeah. So I don't know. Interesting thing. I think it'll be, I'm going to say interesting again for the third time, but interesting to see what they do with it in the future, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah.
definitely.
Because, like, I'm all for flying car. I, I want Back to the Future. Like,
Right.
I want,
Like,
that would
let's
be
get
cool.
that.
Or, like, honestly, I want them. Now I know the Tesla has like some sort of driving like technology itself, but like the Mr. Incredibles car, I want that car. Like I want to be able. I have to change, and then you lay back, and then it like changes for you. And then, like, where's that technology? You know,
Yeah. Well, and I've
where's
heard
the?
things about, like, people saying they were gonna have the plane subscriptions, like, that as a mode of
Mhm.
transportation. I want that.
Yeah, I feel like there's other things that we can go down. Like even so, where's the technology that was in the Spy Kids movie where they had that little thing and they put it in a microwave and it made food?
McDonald's?
Yeah. See, these are the things that I think we need first, and then let's go back to Waymo.
We'll
Yeah.
circle back.
Yeah, exactly.
Circle back on the West.
We'll discuss it. Rome wasn't built in a fiscal quarter, right? So, okay. So the next piece of news that I have is, do you know anything about Alex Murdoch?
I do not actually.
Okay. So I highly recommend like listen to the Crime Junkie podcast that like goes into way more detail than what I'm going to give. I think there's also like a Netflix I don't know if it's a full documentary or if it's like shows inside of the documentary, but essentially um Alex Murdoch was married to Margaret Murdoch, and they had two sons, Paul and Buster. And there's been a lot of like controversy surrounding this family for some time. But they were a very predominant family. I believe Alex Murdoch was an attorney of some kind. And in 2015, there was a guy named Stephen Smith who was a classmate of Brewster who was found dead, and his case went unsolved. But people did kind of link Buster
Okay.
to that story. And then in 2019, there was Mallory Beach, who had passed away after a night out with Paul and some of their friends, right? Paul was, he was in this case basically like charged with her murder, and he was supposed to go for trial for this. So basically, if you keep those two things in mind, this kind of started according to, uh, you know, the crime junkie of it all. Um, this basically weighed a lot on Alex, and so that's why they believed that he had one night decided he was going to murder his wife and only one of his sons, which was Paul. Um, don't know why he decided to murder his wife, or his son, but I think because of the controversy with Paul and going to trial with the death of Mallory, I think that kind of was what led it.
Mm,
Um, and then from there in 2021, that was when Margaret and Paul got murdered. And then in 2023, Alex was convicted.
dang.
Now, ever since then, it recently came out, I think about a week or two ago, that his conviction was overturned. So that means he's going to now go back to trial for the death of Margaret and Paul. He's still apparently facing other charges in prison or for the reason he got into prison. So, like, he won't be completely free from the research that I've
Mm.
looked at, but they are going to be doing this new trial, which I think is very interesting.
Why did they say they
Um,
were overturning it?
that is a great question. Essentially, like they said that I think it was the judge um, who was a part of it, or someone, not any of the jury, but someone who was a part of the conviction, basically had biases, and his lawyer, Alex's lawyer, was able to fight for that, and I guess overturn the conviction.
Crazy work.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. If I hear more, I'll let you know because I mean, I feel like in any sort of these cases, in any true crime, it's got to be so hard for the families of these victims where,
Yeah,
the cases get overturned and you have to go through that process all over again. And no matter what the case, it's got to be difficult for sure.
yeah.
And the other son is still out there. I think he's laid pretty low.
Us too.
Um, yeah, but from what I've seen, he's in support of his dad.
Mm,
And Alex has come out and been like, I'm innocent. Like, I didn't do this. His alibi, so to speak, was that he was out visiting his parents who were ill at the time, and he was checking up on them. So he wasn't even home. Um, but in most cases, it's always the husband,
yeah,
allegedly, you know.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
In other
All right.
news, happier
Yes.
news, Lego has donated over $97 million to bring play-based learning to kids in conflict zones, which is amazing. We were just talking about
Hey.
Legos this weekend and all the sets that we wanna buy. But they just announced a new 5-year partnership with, again, $97 million to support education for kids who are affected by war or are within any kind of humanitarian crisis. And that's going to focus on kids in East Africa and the Middle East. The plan is to reach 5 million kids using this play based learning to help kids recover emotionally and rebuild their confidence and keep learning, even though they're in trauma zones and living in instability, which I think is amazing. I think we underestimate the value of play and learning. And I think it's amazing that they're doing that.
That's so great. And I know with like trauma too, especially for kids, they do have a lot of not Lego specifically, but like there are a lot of tools that they use to be able to help those kids heal. And so that's amazing that Lego is also a part of it.
Yes, exactly. It's great to see these big companies doing something good with their money, and being able to bring change, especially in these little innocent kids' lives who really had no say whether or not they're in those zones. Yeah. They've also said any of the teachers who have been involved, they've seen improvements in attendance at school, any kind of engagement, confidence, leadership skills, and just being able to express emotions. And they're really kind of pushing this idea that education should be life sustaining and not necessarily just something optional. And I think play is such a big part of that. So, yeah, excited to see that. And I hope other companies do stuff like this.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think they're definitely more on the front end of the battle, and that's amazing. And I agree. I hope other companies can kind of follow pursuit.
Yeah. In our fun hot gossip session, let's talk
Yes.
about all the
So
things we need to know about this week.
yes, I have titled this, and this could be a working name for the segment, but Celeb Goss in 10. And that came from something that um, I've seen before at other companies where they're like, they want to talk about something quickly. And so let's get into it. So the first one is the West and Amanda of it all. Part one of the Summer House reunion just came out.
What's that?
Yeah, it was pure cinema. Um, we often say between the two of us and our partners that it wasn't a movie, it was a film.
Yeah,
And
this was
this
film.
was this was a film.
And let me
So
tell you the
good.
difference between a movie and a film. Like,
Yes,
a
please.
movie is like 21 Jump Street or like The Hangover. Those are good movies, Mean Girls. But a film is like Begonia or like Wuthering Heights or trying to think what else.
Those are the two we've seen most recently that
Yeah,
we've called a
that just
film. So
pops to mind, but just, like, anything, like, weird and creative that is a film. This wasn't
yeah.
weird and creative, but, like,
Well,
this was quality.
yeah, and I feel like it had me sat. So,
Yeah.
like, anything where I'm off my phone
Mhm.
and, like, fully paying attention, that's what a film is to me. It had me just from the beginning,
Like
I was like,
art.
"Oh my gosh." Yeah. The beginning just the beginning like, few seconds alone, we're like, how is Lindsay just so happening to, like, do confessionals for In the City, and, like, Kyle comes in, and I'm sure maybe some of that was planned, but, like, it I mean, everyone was calling in. I don't know what they had to do to get that done, but just
Thank
amazing.
you.
Like,
Thank you.
just thank you for your service, bravo. Like, I love it, I appreciate it. So yeah, so couple things that came from that, I think, were that, there was an old clip of Wes that came out that basically was like, I think, and I'm paraphrasing, so I might not get it perfect, but it was basically like, "I think that if, like, Sierra wasn't in the house, everything would be good." And, yeah, it was, like, on some random podcast. And then, he comes in, he's not really supporting Amanda. I actually saw something on Threads that someone had posted to TikTok, which was basically saying how Wes came into the house. He saw that Amanda was probably going to come out and become the next like Ariana Maddox with just how everything was going. And he like latched onto that. And honestly, I can kind of see it because my thought process during this part of the reunion was um, he said to Sierra, "Oh, I didn't want anything serious. I didn't want to be a boyfriend. I didn't want this." Okay, and then you can just flip around and turn and be that for Amanda? Like, I didn't get, like, they weren't getting really the why, and I feel like in this situation, you kind of need the why because you're saying you don't, but here you are doing something that you said you didn't wanna do. So it's just very confusing to me.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's giving the ick. It's giving waiting for the next best thing to come along, and right now, I mean, it's the best thing, which it's not anymore. It's about to not be, so he's gonna leave
No.
any minute now.
Yeah. Well, and they are in Rome right now, which interesting. Okay. I'm wondering how long they're gonna be there. Like, there are multiple parts to this reunion, so that'll be interesting.
Out of country too.
I mean, but I had rumors they broke up. So, like, it is interesting, and again, rumors are rumors, like, but that's fair. Like, I guess being out of the country is probably the best idea, but, like, Rome, like, sweet. Let's just I don't know. I'm Italian, I love Rome, so maybe don't go to Page de Sorbo in my homeland. Thank you very much. Um So the next piece of gossip that I want to talk about is Taylor on Southern Charm. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember too much, but apparently she had a TikTok that basically was talking about her now ex boyfriend. I think his name was Gaston. Apparently he cheated on her. Which Sally was in the comments of that, being like, "Yeah, basically, I told you." And then other things from that blew up. So I thought that was interesting. Didn't even know. I don't really follow her on any socials, so
I did
just
see
thought,
she was, on Southern Hospitality last week.
oh,
You noticed that?
okay. I've noticed her popping in every now and then, yes,
She
but
was, like, at the bar, the sports bar with us
oh,
chatting.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe I mean, Sally was one of those ones who was on Southern Hospitality and then went to Southern Charm. So maybe like
Yeah, she would, like,
there can
jump.
be, yeah, there could be flip flop happening.
Sure.
Do you know much about Mr. Fantasy?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, do you know who KJ Appa is?
No.
Okay. Have you heard of the show Riverdale?
Yes.
Okay. So the guy that plays Archie,
Okay.
um, his like real name is KJ. And he so there's this rumor, and it's not been confirmed, but like if you Google it after this, you'll kind of see why. Um, that he is this online persona called Mr. Fantasy. And he's this guy that has like, yes, I need you to Google it. Like he's got like a like a bob type of haircut, and like he just is like really quirky online, but he has the same tattoos as KJ, and he's got like similar features.
The guy
So
that
that
plays Archie.
yes.
This guy's got different teeth, I think, though.
Yeah, but okay, you can wear a look at the tattoos. It looks like the same person. I know it doesn't, but like if you look at them side by side, they do look like the same person. So anyway, and even Mr. Fantasy, like if you watched the Macy's Day Parade last year, he performed at the Macy's Day Parade. Um, he like does songs and music videos, and he's just like a very like popular person on TikTok. His TikToks are so funny and so good. Um, and anyways, people have been convinced that it's KJ Appa. I'm one of those people. But earlier this week, KJ and Mr. Fantasy were seen together having lunch.
Do do do
Yes.
do 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 do.
Exactly. So now everyone's like, okay, wait, no, we still know this is KJ. Like, there's no way he's got the same tattoos in the same placements. So now people are thinking that, and I'm spacing on his name, so please forgive me, but one of Rob Lowe's sons, who's also an actor, is one of the people that is portraying Mr. Fantasy. And while it does sound, yes, crazy and chaotic and maybe not true, I love everything about it. Like, it's just a whole mystery in
You
its
had
own.
me in like a roller coaster just now because I'm looking at Mr. Fantasy. I'm believing you that it's
No,
Archie.
I still fully believe it's Archie. No, I don't think I think what they were trying to do was create this like perception that
You
it's
think it
not
was
him.
AI?
No, no, I'm not. Come on now. I'm not Justin. No, I'm just saying, like, I think in order to keep up the ruse, at some point they're going to have to be seen out together. So he got one of his friends to portray
I see. I
the
see.
Mr. Fantasy of it all.
I see.
Yes. Yeah. Because apparently they have beef because like people keep saying it's him. But trust me, if you go on a deep dive, which I have, I'm fully convinced. I'm fully convinced it's still him. Um, yeah. It's a very entertaining. Yeah. So I thought I would share.
My God.
I'm telling you, I'm deeply in the internet. Sometimes it's scary.
I love this. I am gonna have to go on this deep dive later.
Yeah, please do, please do.
Uh, oh, do you want to talk about the one about Rhode Island?
Yeah, I don't really know too much about this, honestly. I just saw someone post it, and it could be like a fake thing, but I did see a post that was basically saying that, um, one of Real Housewives of Rhode Island's, friends, so the person on Real Housewives is, Liz. Her friend Dina, which was the one that I think they had like a scandal, quote unquote,
She keeps saying
about
they didn't sleep
allegedly.
together when nobody ever asked if
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah. So, but it was brought up earlier in the season. Apparently, he is now facing prison time for things that I don't know how like don't know how much I want to share. Like, not that I don't care. It's not my friend, but for the sake of the podcast, like I don't know what words to use, but yeah, basically drug possession. I allegedly, I don't know, but that's what I saw. So thought that was
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if that's just a rumor, interesting that's going around.
Yes.
Next piece of gossip. I don't know if you saw this, but on Call Her Daddy, Alex Cooper had Robbie Hoffman on, who's married to Gabby Windy, who was on The Bachelor or
Mhm.
Bachelor, right? And she was also on Traitors.
And The Bachelorette. Yeah.
Oh, and she was on The Bachelorette. Um,
Mhm.
and now she is married to Robbie Hoffman, but they are getting a lot of backlash right now because they're making ignorant comments about gluten allergies and celiac disease, which caught my attention. I follow a lot of gluten free accounts. I'm not gluten free anymore, but I went through this whole thing where I was like very sick. I had to go off gluten for 7, 8 years. But they were kind of popping off saying that it's the cool thing right now, kinda like a peanut allergy used to be in the '90s, and they're like, "Do you actually know anybody with a peanut allergy anymore?" No, because it's not cool anymore, which is dumb. I know people with peanut allergies. Um,
Yeah.
but,
It's
I mean, it's
you
kind
can't
of
really
ignorant.
fake that.
Yeah, it's ignorant to say about celiac because that is an autoimmune disease, and they're kind of fueling major backlash right now, with that, and they're kinda saying like, "Oh, do you have an intolerance? Is it just a preference?" Whatever, like, as somebody who was gluten-free for all those years, I would always specify it as a preference, but people with celiac can get extremely sick from just cross-contamination, so just crazy to be spreading that kind of misinformation. I was seeing I this all came up because I saw a TikTok of this guy where he's like, "If you really wanna hurt their wallets, go and complain to call her daddy sponsors and advertisers. So that's how you want to get your apology because all these people were posting reaction videos. And he's like, hit him where it hurts, hit him with the money if you really want to make a difference. So if you're pissed off about that. There you go.
So I had some thoughts about the Jesse and the Marciano of it all.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, they've definitely been hanging out a lot more, which, as Jesse should. She got out of a bad relationship. I know what that's like. You just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And again, I know what that's like. But I find it so interesting with Marciano just because, like, he had this whole thing on his show where he was like wanting to get back together with his ex. And, she couldn't decide what she wanted. And not that I wanted them to get back together, but like, he was kind of in a tailspin with it. And I think they had a toxic relationship. But now he's fine with the whole Jesse situation. Like and again, I'm not meant to understand these people. They can live their lives, but I'm probably gonna have an opinion about it because I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. That's just I saw it and it was like, that's just weird. And I just kind of wanted to talk about it.
Weren't Jesse
So I
and Chase kind of a thing for a hot minute too?
don't think they were. I think they just kissed,
Oh,
which still is wrong. I don't think they were an item. Jesse, I've seen definitely like goes to public events with Marciano. And then she was like a part of like an Instagram collage with another guy who I don't know who he was, but it also looked like there was like photos of them holding hands and walking and kissing and all that. Um, and yeah, so she's definitely living her single life again, as she should. But it is interesting to me that she's bringing Marciano to these like public events. So like maybe it is all just like a publicity thing. It is kind of odd to
yeah.
me
I
though.
just feel like Jesse could get anybody. Why Marciano?
Yeah, like just knowing like seeing him in the most recent season
Yeah.
of Vanderpump Villa, I don't know if he's had enough growth, but yeah, all for her having fun and like is if they can do that and be friendly, like that's great. It's just odd, I
Yeah.
think personally.
Definitely. Okay, next piece of news. Danny Buku from the Valley apologized publicly to his wife, Nia, after he was dragged for his behavior, as he should be. And then on top of that, he was supposed to be on Watch What Happens Live. And after all the backlash, he just canceled and didn't go. Which is also not surprising. I feel like they're that kind of couple that just avoids the conflict and
Yes.
they don't want to
Yeah.
be called out for that. So, on brand.
Well, and they talked about that in last week's episode, I think. Kristen, I think, brought it up. But I yeah, I mean, I would hope that he would see his behavior and recognize and see that that's a problem,
Yeah.
but I also just don't know if I fully believe the apology.
Right. No, I don't. I feel like that was just checking the box. Next piece is Spencer Pratt from The Hills. He's now running for mayor in LA. And apparently his polls are doing pretty well. He's running independently in the primary election. And it's largely driven by the city's response to the January 2025 Pacific Palisades fire, which did destroy his family's home. So that's like one of the big major things that he's running on right now. Um, Along with focusing on safety and homelessness that kind of plagues all of LA. If you've ever been, it's just like every other corner, it feels. So that is one of the things he's running on. But let's not forget that on top of that, Luke, I can't even say his last name,
Hmm.
Branson,
I know who you're talking about, though. Yeah, from
from
Summer
Summer
House.
House. Yeah, he's running for Congress as a Democrat in Minnesota's 8th congressional district. I saw him the other day. I was watching CNN and he just kind of popped on and was like doing an interview. Were you at my house when that happened?
I was,
Yeah.
yeah. I think Gil tried to change the channel. We were like, no, we
No,
want to
no,
watch
no,
this.
no. Luke is on CNN right now.
And they were asking about the West and the Sierra of it all, and like, I just
Yeah,
like what?
but he
All
kind of
has
like skirted the question and I was like,
yes.
no, expand.
Well, my thing is, does he have does he have media training? I don't know. I don't think he does. And I think he did it really well. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I never thought Bravo and politics or even like reality TV and like politics would collide this way. But see, it just proves that you
Feel
need to be
like
watching
for him
reality TV.
specifically, he's looking for a moment in the sun. Like, on top of that, he's not on Summer House, but he was also on Selling OC for a minute. He was, like, dating Polly,
Mhm.
but, like, you could tell it was one of those for the show kinda dating situations. He was, like, talking
Yeah,
about maybe moving to LA, and I feel like he was looking for a chance to get on the show as a real
yeah.
estate agent. Uh
He also dated Ashley Darby.
oh, he did. I forgot
Yeah,
about that. Yeah,
from
I just
Real
feel
Housewives
like
of
Potomac.
Potomac. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, yeah. Those are all interesting. Like Spencer Pratt and Luke. Just, I really want to know what Hannah Burner is thinking. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall between her and you know what, her husband too, because like they're both comedians. I'm sure that they are cracking themselves up with
Yeah.
jokes and such at home.
So interesting, but I would vote for Luke, honestly. He got me on that CNN interview.
Right. Oh, he did. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay, last piece of reality TV news. Ariana Madix is returning for season 8 of Love Island, which starts pretty soon. Maura Higgins is not returning to host After Sun. So I know a lot of fans are freaking out about that. However, Sierra to the rescue. So she'll be on After.
Yes. Yeah. Before I guess we move on to our spiraling segment, anything in the Bravo shows you watched this week that you want to talk about that we didn't discuss?
No, I feel like we kinda hit everything. The reunion was, like, the craziest thing, but
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. I feel like once all the reunion parts come out, we'll focus an episode on just like our top thoughts
Yeah.
on
Release
everything about that.
footage.
Yes. Yeah. Make it 17,000 parts, please.
Yes.
All right. So it's now time to get into our spiral of the week. Um, our spiral of the week is going to be about the Peace Corps. And if you're listening and thinking, how the heck did you guys think to come up with this topic? It's actually very, very random. So, one of the fun things that I did this weekend was take a baking class. And the instructor was kind of like walking us through her career and how she decided to get into becoming like a pastry chef and all this. And she started out by saying, like, I was in the Peace Corps. And I immediately was like, what is that? How did you know? Like, what? I've heard of the Peace Corps, obviously, but like I'd never thought to research it. And then what happened was there was another woman in the class who also was in the Peace Corps. So then it was like two women just being like, yeah, we were both in the Peace Corps. And I'm like, I now need to know
Are people
what
still
this
in the
is.
Peace Corps? I have questions.
Yes. So I yeah, I'm gonna kind of dive into this and I do want to call out my source, which was I found a documentary on Amazon Prime that I watched. So there's a lot more information there. Highly recommend it. It's probably close to 2 hours, but it was a very good documentary. Um, so, one of the things though that my teacher had said was that in the Peace Corps, she had learned to crush up eggshells and make it into some sort of protein powder for the women to eat that she was like helping in the Peace Corps.
Mm,
Because if not, only the men would get the protein. So,
just
yeah, fun fact, eggshells have protein, I guess. Had no idea and didn't know you could turn them into a powder, I guess. But
yeah.
um, yeah. So that again caused me to be like, okay, I have to learn more about this. The documentary itself opens up with a quote from JFK, which was, how would you lead a world you don't understand? And how can you lead a world you don't understand? So that line really just stuck with me as I was learning more and more about the Peace Corps. So to set the time, we're going back to the 1950s, 1958, if I remember correctly, to be specific. There was a book that had just come out called The Ugly American, and it was a bestseller. It was fictional. And basically, the book was talking and criticizing Americans, again, fictional, but about how they approach diplomacy overseas. And they argued that the US was trying to influence countries and cultures that they truly didn't understand.
Hmm.
And at this time, JFK was just a young senator, and he became so fascinated with this book that he then sent it to other senators that he worked with. Like he was sending them copies. And I think this is kind of what led into starting the Peace Corps, right? So JFK had just gotten out of a political debate with Nixon, and he then went to Ann Arbor, Michigan. And he had just gotten off the plane. It was 2 a.m. There was over or around 10,000 students waiting for him. And they had a microphone set up. They were all ready for him to speak. Now, frankly, if it was me and it was 2 a.m., I kind of would be like, okay, I don't know if I would want to speak, but he felt compelled. And he basically just pitched this idea to everyone there, saying, like, what if you went overseas? And what if you helped those around the world, not as tourists, but living among them, eating what they're eating, living the same conditions that they're living in? And there was two people in the audience that heard this, which was Judy and Alan Guskin, I believe is how you pronounce their last name. I did Google if they were siblings or if they were dating. They were in fact married. So,
Would make sense.
um, yes, you never know. But yes, they were two graduate students, and they basically just took this idea that JFK randomly said in this 2 a.m. speech. Like, none of it, I don't think, was really planned. Because I don't think he was really wanting to talk at 2 in the morning, personally. And they then wrote to the Michigan Daily, which I guess was the college paper, basically saying, like, we want to do this, sign us up. Within a few weeks, they actually got a couple hundred signatures on this petition to start this thing. And then they actually went and found JFK while he was still campaigning for his presidency. I think he was in Ohio. And they basically were like handing it to him, being like, hey, we really want this to happen. So then so that's kind of where the idea of the Peace Corps started. Then, kind of how it became a real thing was JFK did get elected to become president in 1960, as we know. um, and that was when his famous line of, don't not ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that, I think, tied in with his like really wanting to just make the world and make the US like just understand more, right? Not just come at it from such a harsh perspective. And he actually received thousands of letters on this idea and about wanting those to help out with the Peace Corps. So, because he was president, he couldn't like fully do it by himself. So that is where Sergeant Shriver comes into the mix, who was JFK's brother-in-law. And if that last name sounds familiar, you might know Maria Shriver.
Hmm.
And if that name sounds familiar, you might know her as Arnold Schwarzenegger's ex-wife. Um, yeah, so I had no idea that all these people, it kind of makes Arnold Schwarzenegger's political career make, I guess, a little more
Yeah.
sense because he had that background. But Sergeant Shriver was basically in charge of building the Peace Corps. And he had a committee of people that basically were pitching him ideas. A lot of the people under him or that were a part of his committee really wanted him to do it small, right? Like get a couple people, do a couple countries, like nothing super grand. But he kind of knew that like it had to be a big thing or else all of these countries and those that were running these countries wouldn't really like take to it. So he did have people like kind of give him their feedback. And then there was a paper that was called the Towering Task that basically said, like, this is how you need to do it. You need to go big. You need to go bold. And that's the one they went with. So I think that's where probably the documentary name came from. And in this report, they suggested that JFK do an executive order to kind of bypass the slow moving process of Congress support and get the Peace Corps started. And that is exactly what he did. He did it within, I think, about 4 months of his presidential candidacy, which I think is remarkable
Yeah.
for you to do something so quickly. But I think it just goes back to like all the letters and all the comments and young voters, I think, really gravitated towards JFK. And I think he truly wanted to make a difference. Now, there when they started this process, obviously they didn't know like what the Peace Corps like how to do this, right? Like what is the training to send other people into other countries to be volunteers? So it was kind of chaotic and very much all over the place. You had you were in like a 2 to 3 month training of some kind. You had to do paperwork, you had to do medical tests, you had to do a 6 hour exam, you had to have references. Like only 4 out of 5 people that were applying to be a part of the Peace Corps really made it in. And sorry, 1 out of 5.
Okay.
4 out of 5 got
Like, oh,
rejected.
so everyone made it in.
No, whoops, yeah, no, sorry, 1 out of 5 made it. And I think that's an important piece to bring out because at the time, people were calling the Peace Corps volunteers draft dodgers. So essentially, they were saying, like, oh, it's probably so easy to get in. You just don't want to be a part of the draft. And that's why you're going into this, which I don't think was the case. I think truly at this time, people just wanted to do something good. And yeah, I don't think they were draft dodgers, in my opinion. So then another part of their training was very like harsh conditions. Like they had to basically go through a boot camp of some sort. Um, One guy in the documentary said that he had to learn with his swim with his hands tied behind his back. And I think that just proves like they had no idea what they were training for.
No.
Like they really didn't know what they were doing. They had to learn how to grow crops, which I think is probably a valuable skill set. But then they had to learn how to kill chickens. Like I think they were just trying to prepare them for whatever situation that would come from them being in these different countries. So with the Peace Corps, though, there was a lot of controversy, right? So uh, up until this point, like they wanted young people to help. Like it was very world peace vibes. It was very optimistic, right? Um, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the only thing that I thought about the Peace Corps, honestly, when I heard about it. So it was fun getting to like dive into this more. Um, but I will say, the Peace Corps wasn't just about helping people. Uh, it was tied to diplomacy and obviously America's image abroad. This is where, I didn't realize how politically, I don't want to say charged, but just like integrated that the Peace Corps was, like there was a lot of ups and downs that came with it. There was some fear by a lot of other countries that the Peace Corps was actually like a front and that it was actually they were CIA members in the Peace Corps and that they were spying on these other countries and reporting back. And that's just not the case. The Americans that were there worked really hard, I think, to be able to portray that they were a trusting and friendly face. They really integrated themselves into the communities. And um, yeah. So as I said, there was some sort of controversy. The first being kind of in the early start of the Peace Corps, which they called the Nigerian controversy, which is essentially there was a lady who was volunteering there and she wrote on a postcard about the conditions that she was living in because these people were living in the same area that they were the people they were helping. Like there was no special treatment for any of them. And um, obviously that's got to be a vast different than what you're experiencing in America. And so she wrote it all on a postcard and tried to send it home. And people found out about that. And basically like our version of screenshotted, basically copied it and posted it, and it was all over the press. So it was definitely something that took the Peace Corps again, brought it into like a negative light, I think.
Mm.
But the president did kind of push past this and even made a joke about it here or there, be like, don't forget to write, but just don't do it on a postcard. Um, and then from there, obviously JFK was assassinated, right? He was assassinated in 1963 here in Dallas, Texas, which, if you have not been to that museum, um, I'm not a museum person, to be honest, but that one was, I think, really moving and just so interesting to see.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a huge turning point because he was such a driver of the Peace Corps and to just make it this like wholesome thing. And obviously from there, you had a bunch of different presidents to follow. The person who had replaced JFK in presidency basically approached Sergeant Shriver and was like, "Hey, I need you now to like step away from the Peace Corps, and I need you to start focusing on ending world hunger." And Schreiber was such a driver of the Peace Corps that it slowly just started to fall apart from there. Um, then we got into the Vietnam War era of it all, and America became even more politically divided. And everyone was wondering, like, how can the Peace Corps truly stay neutral when it's a part of the government? So people didn't really like know if they wanted to volunteer, and it slowly started to taper off those that were participating in volunteering. Nixon then became president, and he was not a fan of the Peace Corps. He had actually talked about quietly getting rid of it and phasing it out, but because it was Nixon, he had some problems of his own at the time that he had to focus on. So luckily, he wasn't able to focus on phasing out of the Peace Corps, which is good. Um, and from there, there was a couple things that I learned in the documentary that really stuck with me too, which was that there was a thing called the Dominican Republic Revolution in 1965, where they basically kicked out almost all Americans, and except for the ones that were a part of the Peace Corps. They were having people like around with guns, like they were ready to shoot on sight. But because these Americans had been living with them and quote unquote playing baseball with them in the streets before this kind of took off, they considered them one of them.
Mm.
And the Peace Corps was actually able to get food and supplies using their van to be able to bring all of these people food. So they were kind of seen as helpers, and they definitely weren't going to be attacked in any way. So I just think that just adds some value to like the Peace Corps itself. Like they weren't just there to like disrupt; they were really there to support. And then yeah, from there, the Peace Corps obviously hasn't been a main topic, I think, of conversation in the last few years. Um, in 2020, actually, with COVID, they had to pull out everyone from all countries, all volunteers. And that's the first time they've done that in their like 60 plus years
Wow.
of starting. So now they're kind of having to start from the ground up again. I believe they started volunteers coming back in 2022, but there is campaigns for like you don't have to be young, you can be any age and you can go and help in the Peace Corps. I believe it's only like a 2 or 3 year max that you can be a part of the Peace Corps. It's not a very long thing that you can do. Um, and
It's
I will
all
say,
volunteer, you don't get paid to be in the Peace Corps?
so you do get paid,
Oh,
but it's not, from my understanding, a lot of money. It's very limited. Like again, you're living the same life that the people are living in the country that you're
'cause I
in.
always imagined it was kinda like the military where it's like
Yeah.
they take care of you while you're doing.
Yeah, I don't think you get any like services back like you do with the military. Like there's nothing really except for the fact that you want to volunteer. And I will say from some of my research, it does look like a lot of people that go into politics actually go into the Peace Corps first.
Interesting.
I think it was Jimmy Carter, one of the president's moms, was actually in the Peace Corps.
Hmm.
And she, I think, was a driver for him to try to keep it alive. Um, it was an important thing for him, but just kids, younger generations just weren't like gravitating towards the Peace Corps as they were when it first started in the 60s. Um, I do also want to share that there was another scandal that happened not too long ago in 2009. Um, Her name was Kate Puzzi. I believe I'm saying that correctly. And essentially, she was there to be a teacher. um, she had heard rumors that there was this man who lived in the country that she was volunteering in, who was sexually harassing some of his students. And it wasn't until a few days before her volunteering stunt was supposed to be over that she actually did find out truly that he was. And so she wrote an email to some higher ups in the Peace Corps, thinking that there would be anonymity, and thinking that her name would be kept out of it and that they could investigate it. Her email got leaked. Her name got out there. And unfortunately, she was murdered.
Gosh.
Yeah. And come to find out, like, her mom went and, made sure that there was something in place so that things like this didn't happen in the future. And it actually came out that there was quite a few women that were sexually abused and harassed during this program, that actually came forward.
What
Yeah,
country
and
was
one
that?
that is a great question. I didn't write the country name exactly, but we could quickly Google it. Yes, it was very, very sad. But some light did come from it. It was the Kate Pusey's Volunteer Protection Act of 2011. So basically, they've now set up things in place so that, and the president signed it. So saying that basically, all of these things that are you're going to be reporting are going to be silent, and they're going to work it, and no, your name's not going to be out there, and you can feel safe. And as a woman, that I think is a big, big thing.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that it took that long, but also not surprising that it took that long. I'm just sad that Kate had to that all that had to happen to her in order for something to get done.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of yeah, that's kind of everything I learned about
I love it.
the yes, the Peace Corps of it all. I think the things that I've learned just from again this short documentary that I watched was that like JFK's quotes make a lot more sense to me now,
Mm.
knowing more of his thoughts and the Peace Corps. And it kind of makes me want to quit my day job and go out there and
No.
volunteer. And now knowing that they take anyone of any age, maybe when I retire. I will say they are it sounds like they look for people with a bunch of different backgrounds. Like it's not just, you have to learn how to grow crops or be a teacher or anything. Like they've expanded, at least before the pandemic, they expanded the countries that they were in. And they take businessmen and people that know finance and accounting and also teachers, and also like I think it's just
That's cool.
expanding. And get yourself out there and realize you can make a difference, whether that is you want to be in the Peace Corps or on your day to day. I think it's great to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah, that's cool that there's, like, other ways of being able to help people, and I always think of, like, um, when I was in high school and stuff, like, I used to go on missions trips with my church, and I feel like those can be really nuanced, but, like, this is a
Yeah.
really cool way for everybody, or not everybody, but, like, anybody who really wants to go that extra mile to help people. I think that's such a cool program that's there.
Yeah, I definitely thought about, church missions when I was doing this, like, research and watching the documentary. I was like, "Oh, that kind of is, like, similar to that process as well." But
Yeah, and I feel like the
yeah.
end goal is just, like, very different. Like, when I think back to, like, our church missions trips, a lot of it was to, like, try to get people to convert. Whereas I like this mission because it's almost like helping people without expecting any kind of outcome from it, just being able to do something nice for them without any
Yeah. And the documentary also hit on the fact that, like, these volunteers were in these countries when JFK was assassinated and
Mhm.
when the Twin Towers went down, and these other people were basically coming up to the volunteers being like, "We're so sorry." Like, I think it was India that basically had a holiday for JFK, which they said that they didn't do for any other foreign leader, with the exception of JFK. So I think that we benefit probably a lot more than they benefit from us, but it's just so nice to see that there is goodness in the world. And I know there was a lot of tragedy and a lot of not so great things that came from this or out of this, but I think there is a lot of good that came from it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that kind of leads into our next section. Do you have anything else about the Peace Corps? I was gonna
Nope.
say, normally we dive into, like, the shout outs. Shout out to Carl Radke. Um, but the one of the things I was gonna shout out this week is that I just finished the book, When We Were Brilliant, which is about Marilyn Monroe, and so that kinda reminded me of that time period because, um, people said that she was rumored to have had an affair with JFK. Um, and so I'm only seeing it from that lens until you're kinda talking about the Peace Corps, and tying it to that. So I finished that book, but then I also watched the documentary on Netflix, Blonde, which is also about Marilyn Monroe, and both pieces of content, the book and the movie, they had very different perspectives on Marilyn Monroe and her life. Like, one People Are
Mhm.
Brilliant, I think I mentioned this before, but it's a book that's like a novel, coming from the perspective of Marilyn Monroe's main photographer, who was a woman, and just kind of like her life as the photographer, and then seeing Marilyn Monroe from that lens of like, I watched you and I watched you claim your power. Like, in the book, she kind of goes into how Marilyn Monroe would portray herself as this like breathy little thing, but she knew what she was doing, and she was like actually very powerful of like being able to control situations, and they even address that JFK affair in the book, and like, how Jackie was kinda scared of Marilyn Monroe, but then in the documentary Blonde, it takes a very different, perspective where it's, like, showing her as this scared little girl who doesn't have any control over her life and her narrative. So, it was
Mhm.
very interesting seeing those 2 different ways of looking at it because it's like, which one was she? It could have been both, honestly, but they
Yeah.
portray that whole affair as, like, really, really dirty and scary, um, and kind of vulgar, um, so it is interesting, and I have many questions about it. Too bad I couldn't be there, but, I yeah, that my whole brain has been living in the '50s lately, and now I'm like, "Oh, let me watch all this content from the '50s." Like, I wanna go back and watch
Yeah.
that documentary on Audrey Hepburn and all the things.
Honestly, yeah, like that's and again, that's probably a future spiral, but like I think it's so interesting. And I don't feel like or me specifically, learned enough about these things in
Yeah.
school growing up. And I love that we have this platform now where we're just like, we want to do this. We want to research these things because, I told Tony last night, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this research. I can't talk. And this morning when I woke up and he texted me, I was like, I literally woke up thinking about the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
Like my brain retained all this information. And yes, I have notes, but like, it's just, I love that we're able to learn all these things from all these different time periods and we're able to, research them fully. And there's like a reason and a purpose behind it. So, I will say too, when you were talking about Marilyn Monroe, which I don't know much about her, but I do think there's a lot of people now that kind of do something similar. Like they have a persona
Mm.
that they have whenever they perform. And I think I don't know, but I would assume maybe they're doing it to kind of separate themselves. Like there's the person you are, and then there's the person you either want to be, or the person you want people to see you as, or it's a way to like protect you. Which I'm sure in Marilyn Monroe's case, it could be, not
Well
the best
well,
protection,
that's
but
kind of like, what they're getting at in the book too is, like, she says, "Nobody calls me Norma Jean," and very few people would call her Norma Jean, which was her real name,
Mhm.
but she was Marilyn to everybody else. That was very different than Norma Jean, um,
Right.
who, like, grew up in foster homes and scared, and her mom was in the, mental hospital, and, um, she had a very difficult life, but everyone just saw Marilyn. And you're so right, like, people do that today, and you can see it, like Mr. Fantastic. No.
Well, Mr. Fantasy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Fantastic.
um,
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic.
I was thinking more like Ariana Grande
No,
and
totally, yeah. Like Sabrina Carpenter, like
yeah, who was I thinking of?
Chapel
Paris
Roan.
Hilton.
Oh, mhm.
Yeah. But no, I definitely would love to learn more about Maryland, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that
No, it
if
was
you
the
ever do a future
I
spiral.
will say The Blonde was, a film. It wasn't a movie, it was a film. Like,
Okay.
I've actually tried to watch it in the past and got bored because I was like, it has some very silent, slow moving scenes. But then rewatching it after reading that book, it was a little more captivating, and the scenes are very artsy, which I liked.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like you said, film.
yes. Okay, more shout outs. I'm also reading a book right now called American Dirt. It is about this little boy and his mom who they're in the first like 2 pages, their whole family gets killed by the cartel in Acapulco, and it's kind of about their escape, but, like, turns out that the mom kind of knew the head of the cartel that was after them, and they were friends, and so I think there's more that's gonna come out of that. I'm very captivated by it, though, and I'm maybe 20% into the book, but so much has happened
Oh,
already.
okay.
It's good.
Yeah, I might need to read this. This sounds good.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, so far so good. Another shout out, this weekend we went to Salt and Straw. Very
yeah,
different vibe. But I can't even tell you how much I just love Salt and Straw, and if you're vegan or dairy free, which I'm dairy free, they always have the best dairy free flavors that are fun and creative. You can never have the fun flavors. It's always like the same basic raspberry
that's gotta be
sorbet.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing on my shout outs list is this weekend I watched The Death and Life of Lamar Odom. Have you seen
I've
that?
heard of this.
Yeah.
I heard that Chloe didn't like what Lamar had said, after the fact of, like of everything that came out in the documentary, basically saying, like, he didn't need her, or, like, he didn't I don't know, she didn't do much for him or something like that, like
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, like,
yeah.
after it was interesting, and a couple points that I will say, like, one, his ex-wife was frustrated that when he was in the hospital, Chloe was locking it down and making everyone sign NDAs, but they told her, "Not you, you don't have to sign an NDA," but, like, everyone else does. So they even excluded her from that, and she was, like, mad about it, but people were coming in and, like, doing sneaky stuff, so obviously she had to. And then
Yeah.
the other thing was, like, it did give kind of an air of ungratefulness, and she said that he couldn't talk or really do anything for himself. He came home. They came home and he was doing drugs. He had reached out to his dealer and he was kind of pretending to not be as able as he actually was. And so that's when Chloe was like, "I'm out. I'm done. You just like used me for all that." And I always just like feel for Chloe.
Yeah, I feel for Chloe for, many of
Yeah.
reasons. I mean, she's thriving. She doesn't need
Yeah.
any of our sadness, but, yes, I do think I we're pretty normal people.
Yeah.
And I'm at the age where in the stage where I'm like, if someone wants me to sign an NDA, okay, like sure.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming though that he's not around people that are that normal and that don't really like I wouldn't share anyone's gossip to like a news article or anything, and I think he was around people that probably were or that would want something from him or get him to sign something. So I don't find that really outlandish that they would ask people to do that.
No.
And I think if the people do, there's something
No,
something they're
well,
not
she
wanting to
said,
share
like,
there.
his drug dealers were coming in trying to get money and, like, trying to grab his personal wallet to get
Of
their
course.
money and things like that, and that's why she was like, "No, we're locking this down, nobody else is in here unless they go
Yeah.
through me or they sign this piece of paper," and yeah, so I was like, of course. You're a
Yeah.
Kardashian, you gotta."
Right. Yeah. I would expect nothing less.
No.
And honestly, I love Chloe. She's
The best.
probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my shout outs are so the first one is Vagisil. Um I follow Carl on Instagram and Vagisil sent Carl something in the mail as like PR, I guess, because of the fight that him and Kyle had a few episodes ago on Summer House. And I wrote this down. So the shirt said, "I am being a Vagisil." And then it was a note that said, "We heard Kyle called you a Vagisil. We just want to say same. Vagisil is reliable, widely available, affordable, and provides relief when things get uncomfortable. Sort of like the predicament you found yourself in. Wear this name proudly. We've got your back and vaginas because you're not a mess. You're a Vagisil. With love and light fragrance, Vagisil." And then they said, "P.S. More life, more Vagisil." And I don't know who did that, but
Genius.
1,000% amazing. Recommend like that is the best move I've seen in PR in probably a very long time. Not that I know much about PR, but like that was just whoever came up with that.
Hats off.
You're amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
I love it so much. So yeah, I screenshotted that from his Instagram. I was like, need to share that one. Um, and then the second shout out, this one's really random, but I want to shout out Sherlock Holmes.
Shout out to Sherlock
So,
Holmes.
yeah. Um, I I started watching the BBC Sherlock Holmes, which has Benedict Cumberbatch in it. That's actually how I first heard of him, not from Marvel, but from Sherlock Holmes. There's something about like an era piece where there's also like murder and crime and just something about it just gets to me. And then I kind of wanted to just like call out that there are other versions of the Sherlock Holmes universe if anyone's interested and wants to just watch more. So obviously there's the movies, there's the Robert Downey Jr. of it all. There's Enola Holmes, which is Sherlock Holmes' sister,
Mm,
and that's out on Netflix. And I believe Sherlock Holmes is played by oh my gosh, what's that guy that like was in Superman? Not the most recent one, Henry Cavill.
okay.
Yes. And then there's now a most recent show called Young Sherlock, which is portrayed by Hero Tiffin, who was a part of those After series movies. And it's about like the prequel of it all.
Oh,
So
cool.
I am very much obsessed. I just forgot how obsessed I was with this franchise. Um, and I think it gets kind of slept on, to be honest. I don't,
Yeah, I never hear anybody talking about Sherlock Holmes, which maybe I need to start
yes,
watching it.
yes. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I could get into like the part that you probably won't even like because you haven't seen the show. It's like you don't know, but there's basically an evil villain in the BBC version of the show, and you find out this is a spoiler. I mean, the show's been out for a few months now, but it's not really a spoiler. But you find out that in the Young Sherlock show, Sherlock and him actually start off as friends, which I think is a very interesting
I love
take.
that kind of art.
Yes. Yeah. So, can't recommend it enough. And I think, yeah, those are my only two shout outs. Also, shout out Bailey. I want to say you at the reunion were just amazing. And I started following on Instagram today because of just how you handled yourself.
Bring
And
back Bailey. 100.
yes, yes, I hope you secured your seat for next season, which I'm curious to see what that looks like. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is
Or
it. That is all we have.
love it.
So, yeah, I guess we'll say goodbye and we hope to spin and spiral with you again next week.